I'm meteorologist Melissa Thomas. Now we are ready to begin this conversation on Tropical Storm Zeta, a strengthening Tropical Storm Zeta. So my goal here tonight is to just talk about where it's at now, how it's been strengthening the past couple of hours, how it will continue to strengthen, why it's strengthening, and then we'll talk track and some limiting factors to further strengthening once it ends up in the Gulf. And then we're going to talk uncertainty in the forecast while it is in the Gulf. What goes into the uncertainty to that, why it is that way, and some of the options that we can see. I will also have my phone up in front of me, the source of all that issues just now. But I have it up and I have it here so that I can glance down and I can answer as many questions as possible. Now, this live would go on forever if I talked glance. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to walk through everything I want to talk about tonight. Then I'm going to kind of glance down at my phone, scroll a little bit, find some questions. I want to answer some questions that anybody may have throughout this discussion, and after we go through the main points, talking points, reiterate anything I need to if you were listening and said, no, that did not make sense. And the next thing that I want to do is talk about that, the track, answer questions. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Oh, my brain. I need some more coffee. If you are watching from my meteorologist Melissa Thomas page and you want to ask questions, then you need to go to the WMBB page where I'm running this live as well, because that's the page that I have up to look at questions and answer as many viewer questions as I can. If you're asking questions on my Met page, I'm not going to see those questions until after the live is over. So if I don't get to you in here, I'll get to you on the Met page, and I'm going to try to get to as many questions in here as possible. So if you're asking questions now, the comment section is zooming up pretty fast, so it's pushing you off screen. Just touch back base after we go through my discussion, ask the questions, and we'll go through a Q&A portion of this live. So let's jump right into it from here then. So this is the enhanced satellite of Tropical Storm Zeta as it is now. One of the things I want you to notice when I hit play here is that these light purples, that this enhanced satellite is reading the temperature of the cloud tops. So the higher the cloud tops go, the colder they get. So these purples are cold cloud top temperatures. And what this is showing us right now is that expanding of the cold cloud tops, those storms are more significant, and the convection is getting stronger in Tropical Storm Zeta. So right now it is increasing in intensity. And there's a few reasons why it is increasing in intensity. The dry air to its north is just a little too far north for the circulation of this forming cyclone to wrap into the storm, which then would limit intensification, wouldn't be good for the storm. Hurricanes do not like dry air. Hurricanes need moisture. Tropical storms into hurricanes need moisture. And where it's tucked at right now in the Caribbean, it's too far south, and it's just enjoying its little field of moisture and helping it strengthen and organize a more defined low. And that will be the case tonight into tomorrow. The dry air is not going to be close enough to really limit any intensification. So if you're going to be paying attention to Tropical Storm Zeta tonight into tomorrow, you're going to see it continue to intensify. And that might feel a little intimidating. You're like, ooh, it's getting stronger, and it will get stronger. But don't worry, that is expected. That's not a surprise. Another contributing factor to the strengthening of Tropical Storm Zeta is that where it's sitting is very warm, 86 degrees. That is storm fuel right there. Those are warm waters. But notice in the Gulf, it's much cooler. So once this storm eventually gets into the Gulf later in the week, Tuesday time frame, we'll time it out in just a few moments, but it's going to be over cooler waters. So that is good news there. That will not necessarily it's not going to hurt the storm, but the cooler waters are going to limit intensification. And what is going to hurt the storm is an approaching cold front in the central United States. It's going to start driving winds around it that are not going to be friendly to the storm as it's in the Gulf. That will limit the storm and start to get wrapped into the storm. It's going to shear the storm, which could have implications for weather in the Panhandle, depending on where landfall is. And that will help weaken the storm. That shear, if it's strong enough and close enough to the storm, will help the storm be limit it as it's moving through the Gulf, even weaken it. But a weakening storm is not a storm to ignore either. So here is Tropical Storm Zeta. Since the show that I did at 5:30, it has continued to strengthen. We had a pressure of 999 at the 5:30 p.m. show. It's now down to 997. Its max winds are 50 miles per hour. And check out the movement. It is stationary. It's not moving. It's just kind of meandering and growing in those warm waters away from the dry air, and it will continue to intensify while it sits there. And eventually, though, it's going to start to make that northwesterly move. And as it's moving, approaching the Yucatan Peninsula in the Cancun area, it will intensify, likely to land there as a Category 1 hurricane. And beyond that, Tuesday afternoon, that's when it's going to be entering the Gulf. This is where it's going to be entering the cooler waters. Good news for us. That's when the trough is going to be starting to like set up, move its eastward track, and then that front will, and the winds associated with it, will start to interact with the hurricane, steering it, weakening it. And but that's 1 a.m. Wednesday. So then 1 p.m. Wednesday afternoon is what is on the screen right here. Right now, the track has the cone just off of the panhandle, and that is good news. I love delivering good news. Right now, the track is mostly off. That cone is mostly off the panhandle, but I don't want you to get your heart set on that forecast, because the models, two of the big models, the big picture models, are divergence in what that cold front, how it's going to set up, and how fast it moves to the east. And that is going to affect the steering of any one storm. So this track right now is a split between those two models. That means that we're taking these two models that usually have a good feel for what's going on, and we're saying we're going to split it down the middle, and for the time being, this is how the cone will look. That is very subject to change as those models become more in agreement of how that trough is going to start to move to the east and then interact with any one storm. The intensity of the storm will also affect how it interacts with that cold front. So a weaker storm would drift more to the west, and a stronger storm would drift more to the east, which is unfortunate for us, which is why we have to pay attention. Likely, when I talk about stronger storm, I'm talking about tropical storm, broad low pressure versus, or a dissipating tropical storm, like a weak tropical storm versus like a Category 1 hurricane. That's what I mean by strong versus weaker. So the stronger one may get pulled further east, which would mean more implications for the panhandle. And the models right now actually are going back and forth over one wants the weaker west solution and one wants the stronger east solution. Hence the split down the middle and the track as we have it here. So the short and sweet of the track as it is check in every day for updates, because this could change. So we move on. It enters the southeast United States, makes its northeast track. It's going to be moving pretty fast because it's going to be picked up by that cold front, just really steered by it, and just whoop. That's one good news about this one. Not going to be a Hurricane Sally event that just stalled and we were at it for days and days watching weather. This is going to be much faster, and the weather we see from it will be isolated to likely Wednesday afternoon as it's making landfall to the west. Next thing I want to jump into is the track with some cloud coverage and rain and a little visual of that and what we can expect. And then I'm going to wrap up with some good news. So who doesn't want to hear that? It's good news. Don't worry. Hold on tight. We're going to go through some not so good news first, though. So here is Tropical Storm Zeta on the FUTURECAST, 7 p.m. tonight. And to the just east of Jacksonville is the low pressure continuing to exit off to our east that was responsible for all the rain yesterday. Moving through Monday afternoon, I'm going to take this moment to talk about your weather tomorrow as well, because a lot of this is going to be a little bit middle of the week. And so one of the biggest questions I can imagine would be, when is it going to start to deteriorate, and what does my day look like tomorrow? Your day tomorrow will be nice. You're going to have easterly winds, no rain chances, mostly sunshine. That is good news. Then moving into Tuesday, we're going to have, you'll see the start of deteriorating weather. more cloud coverage moving in. The white on the FUTURECAST here and little clouds, that's moving into the panhandle by about Tuesday afternoon. You've got some rain chances increasing on Tuesday afternoon. Right now we've got 40%, 50% chance. So it's still going to be a partly sunny day on Tuesday, but we're going to have some rain chances increasing, and that's because of tropical storm, likely at that time Hurricane Zeta, driving moisture north into the panhandle, so we're catching those rain chances. Another important feature on this paused screen is the cold front to the northwest of Zeta. That is when, this is what's really going to drive the steering beyond that, is where that blue line, that cold front, how far south it dips, how strong it is, and how it will steer Zeta from there, and how strong Zeta is or isn't at the time. So if Zeta's weak, then it drifts more west. If it's strong, it gets pulled up and to the east a little faster. So, and also, when Zeta enters the Gulf will also dictate where it is steered by the cold front. So a slower moving Zeta would get picked up in a different way that would zoom it east more, and then a faster Zeta and a weaker Zeta would have the more westward component. So basically, all of that to say, there's a lot of variables that are going into the forecast of this track. So when you see that cone doing its swing, the panhandle's been in the cone for, in one outlook, and then the panhandle's not in the cone, then we're in the cone, then we're shaved off. That is only because this is a relatively volatile weather pattern setup, and as far as so many different setups are being grabbed onto by the models, and the forecast community is doing their best to keep up with the latest data, what it's suggesting, and further refining the forecast as it does. Once it's in the Gulf and we're at Tuesday afternoon, I would expect that by that time there's going to be much more consensus, and we're going to have an idea of what's going to be happening on Wednesday. At that time, Monday nights, Tuesday, we can start talking more detailed on what type of severe weather, if we get any, to be expecting on Wednesday. Because as it makes landfall, that's a good segue into talking about that. So now Tuesday afternoon is continuing north. As it makes landfall Wednesday afternoon, how far west it makes landfall to how far east it makes landfall will dictate what type of weather we're going to experience. Regardless of that, our seas, our rip currents, our surf, they're all going to be messed up no matter what. Starting Tuesday, those rip currents are going to start getting deadly. The swells from Zeta are going to start reaching our coastlines. The beach is going to be a no-go waters-wise. It's going to be very dangerous, and boating forecasts will start to deteriorate, so you'll want to check that out if you have work to do on your boats. Keep updated on the deteriorating boating forecast and watch for the elevated seas, the small craft advisories that will come out, etc., etc. That is going to happen regardless, because unfortunately there's just a tropical system in the Gulf. And then Wednesday afternoon, as far as a storm and its wind effects, if it was a hurricane and it was near us, we would have to be talking possible wind for our area, depending on how close the center was. And then regardless of how close the center is, we will still be talking the possibility for severe weathers. Tropical spin-up tornadoes, the tornado threat, severe weather threat, rainfall. Good news with this storm is since it's moving so fast, we're going to get rainfall, no doubt, but it's not going to just sit over us for a long period of time and drop a ton of water like Sally did. So that's a good difference with a fast-moving storm. That is Wednesday afternoon, so we will likely be working severe weather if it's close to us, and not as worried if it's further west for us. And then it travels up, likely starting to clear the weather on Thursday. Now I'm going to wrap up on the good news. As it wraps up, that cold front that was responsible for the back and forth of the forecast, the uncertainty in the track, is also going to be responsible for beautiful weather, cooler temperatures. This is Friday morning. Friday morning we could be waking up to low temperatures. We're gonna that low temperature, the northwesterly winds behind Zeta exiting is going to cool us off significantly. So we're already in those like upper 50s, lower 60s for your morning lows on Friday morning. And then moving through Friday, your highs, that's yellow. That's not orange or red like we've been having. That's highs in the 70s, low to mid 70s for Friday afternoon. Beautiful weather. Nice, something to look forward to. And then moving into Saturday, that's just fall weather across the United States. Really cold weather, winter weather up north. But Atlanta down to Panama City, Jacksonville, New Orleans, we've got very nice clear skies, fall weather to look forward to. And we stay relatively mild for the weekend after that. So that is my discussion from A to Z. Let me go ahead and get in a spot where I can pull up slides to answer questions. And now I'm going to look and see what kind of questions we may have. All right, let's see. And if there's no questions, that's cool too. It just means I did a good job explaining this. All right, sorry, I'm gonna be quiet for just a moment while I do that. I'm gonna put this up here. Tell your friends if they're asking what I'm doing. I'm looking at questions. I agree, we don't need a hurricane. I actually had a vacation planned in the middle of this. So 2020, I want to be here for it though. I don't want to go on vacation. Let's see, cool. So everybody listened well. They're waiting to questions towards the end, it looks like. Also, I'm here all night, so as far as if there was any questions way up at the top of the comment section, I'm just going to zoom up and I'll answer it after the video wraps up to keep this going. So let me zoom down at the bottom. See people. All right, Tuesday of next week or in like 2 days. Oh, Tuesday of like 2 days. Yeah, this event is this week. In like 2 days, yes. Thank you, Mandy. And now I'm going to sit here for just a few moments and I'm going to see if there's any questions that pop up right now. And while we do that, how bad is it going to get in Hartford, Alabama? You could potentially see weather as it moves inland and then makes its track to the northeast. That could drive severe weather for your area. You'll want to pay attention to your local meteorologists in regard to specifics once we get closer to it. So like Tuesday night, your local Mets are going to start talking as well on any tornado watches or severe weather watches, etc. Storm surge. Storm surge is going to be an interesting one because, for example, earlier when I was talking about if it comes into the Gulf later, if it kind of slowly moves into the Gulf and then it gets picked up by the cold front at a different time, it's going to have its angle of approach is going to be slightly different, which could affect the storm surge too. So the storm surge could affect a more wider swath of the Gulf Coast states from Mississippi, Alabama, the Panhandle, Florida, Louisiana. So storm surge is as well has a little bit of uncertainty as what to expect, how that'll line up, how much wind-driven propagation of energy into the coast would be for storm surge. When is it coming? Wednesday afternoon is likely landfall. And that's when we can expect weather from it on the east side of it, if it was close enough to us. Little far out to be talking storm surge just yet. It could be a wind and a rain event. It's going to be, it actually, for those closest to the center, it for them will likely be more of a wind event because it's going to be fast moving. For most communities in the path of the storm through landfall, it won't be a rain event because you're going to get rain. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be fast. Where is it predicted to hit is, that's where all of the uncertainty with the actual forecast track is involved. We can't really say where exactly it's going to be expected to hit right now. Once this live is done, the whole video is available, and if you rewind it or start at the beginning, I explain all the uncertainty on why the swings of where it's expected to hit. Southport wants to be paying attention to possible severe weather depending on where their center lands. Let's see. The tropical storm winds can be anything from 75 miles per hour and under. So we could be 45 mile per hour to 75 mile per hour. 75 mile per hour and up is going to be hurricane force winds. And when at landfall, there could be a variation between 50 mile per hour to let's see, hold on, 70, 50, so 50 miles per hour to 110 miles per hour. So there's like a 20 mile per hour difference in the projected possible wind for the center of this storm at landfall. So it could be it could be a weak tropical storm, a regular tropical storm. It could be a low wind hurricane category 1 storm at landfall. And you know what, actually, let me go ahead and for people that might be just jumping on, I know the biggest question is when is it going to hit? So let's go ahead and make my freeze frame while I answer questions that I wish I could put some wording up on it though that would say this could change, tune in for updates, but hopefully we're getting that message across as well as we can. Panama City, same thing, Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday afternoon. So you're going to want to be paying attention for possible severe weather if we are just close enough to the center to receive severe weather and none of the wind impacts, or hopefully, and unfortunately for any other community, it's far enough west that we have no wind issues, no severe weather issues. That would be ideal. I like that. Go away, Zeta. Here, here. Okay, guys, I think, will Panama City get any significant amount of wind at all from this? It might. It might. We can't rule it out. That's why we have to pay attention. If we're close enough to the center of a strong tropical storm to low wind category 1 hurricane, then we could see wind from it. We couldn't. Hopefully we don't, and we just get some rain in the middle of the week. Good, good, good. Yes, if you're driving and you drive in for work, you're going to want to really be paying attention of the rain and weather that could be introduced to the Panhandle on Wednesday. So your drive could be really not good on Wednesday, depending on where it lands in the center. It could be it could be an okay drive and not like just a little bit of rain and not bad if that center's far enough away. But with the shear that's going to be involved in the storm with the cold front, the same thing that's going to help weaken it and help steer it will unfortunately also be a contributing factor to moving some of that weather to the east. So while the center might be to our west, if that shear is strong enough to just move all of the severe thunderstorms, rain, tornado threats, that same shear can move it to the east and put it over us even though we're not near the center, if that center lines up in a way that's conducive for that. It is... It's not supposed to do really anything at the moment. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the finalized track across the Gulf. It could go east, it could go further west. So that's why we want to continue to watch it. And at the beginning of this video, if you are tuning in late, once I'm done with the video, it will process and the whole video will be available. So I explain why there's uncertainty in the swinging of the track, why it could go east, why it could go west, and why we need to continue to pay attention. Moving into Monday and Tuesday, that track will get more refined and more certain. And we'll then be able to also start talking about what kind of severe weather we may or may not be in for on Wednesday. All right. All right. Let me just scroll, make sure I didn't miss anything. I think I've gotten all the questions, and like I said, I'm here all night, so I'm going to go back in this once it downloads the whole thing and make sure I've touched on all the questions that are being asked. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I hope this was helpful. I know that there are some aspects to this forecast that are unsettling, and there are some aspects to this forecast that are hopeful, and that's unfortunately the nature of such a weather pattern that is setting up to just add so much uncertainty to the eventual final forecast of a tropical storm or category 1 hurricane. So we'll be bringing you updates all throughout the week, and tune in every day. Yeah, so tune in every day for those updates. The forecast will get further refined. We're going to be able to start talking details. Chief Meteorologist Ross Whitley has his eyes on it 24/7. He never clocks off, I promise you. Such a great chief. And Meteorologist Lauren Hope is going to be with you tomorrow morning, bringing you the updates. If you're getting up early for work and you want to check in, I highly recommend checking in as soon as you get up tomorrow morning, whether that's early for work or you're sleeping in later in the day. Check on the updates, and then again through Tuesday. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. And I will sign off actually with as well. The Storm Track 13 app is another good way to stay updated on the latest with Tropical Storm Zeta. Download the Storm Track 13 app. There is a setting in it that you can overlay on your radar the latest forecast cone, the National Hurricane Center's forecast cone. You can overlay that on top of the radar. I just found that out recently exploring as well, and I think that is super cool. You can also put the spaghetti models in there, but only do that if you're comfortable analyzing those. But the forecast cone is very good to be able to just pop on that app. Okay, cool, that's how it's changed, whether it has or hasn't. So very good tool in the Storm Track 13 app. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. It's been fun.